Authority. I must thank my guests who have been with me, Mr. Andy Izai, former head of Police Division, INEC. Many thanks for joining us, and we appreciate you for your thoughts. Of course, Dayo Olaide from the Center for Democracy and Development. Many thanks for your time.
Always my pleasure to be here, and always good to be on the same set with you.
Same here. All right. Thank you so much. Please, this will continue, but at the moment we'll go to Adokiti, where Tayo is standing by to give us an update. After which, my colleague Ogochokuka in the Adokiti studio would take it up.
Thank you, Irene. We are back at polling unit 13 in.
Yes, Tayo there. Thank you very much. We earlier also got a report from Olubukola Aduwo that voting had finished in one of the polling units there, and we heard sorting and counting. Welcome back to the Adokiti studios. My name is Ogochkuka Ona, and it's always a pleasure having you there and we here. We are all partners in the Nigerian project, and all of us are playing our parts in moving the country forward. All right, we've been having discussions on the way the process has been going, and so far so good. We are still observers, and we have seen that everything has been moving on smoothly. Right now we've had guests in the studio who also were out, and now they are back. We have Ezenwa Nwagu, is the chairman, Partners for Electoral Reform, and also a board member of Yaga Africa. So you're welcome to the studio.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for staying on. You'll be here waiting for us to come to you. We really appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right. Also in the studio is the acting DCG operations, NSCDC headquarters Abuja, is Haruna Lawal Mohammed.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, so both of you have been on the field, taking notes and observing the process. Let's begin with acting DCG. We've not seen any security operative here to tell us how it has been going, but we understand the NSCDC deployed 9,749 personnel for this election. So, what are your observations so far?
So far, so good. The process has been going on smoothly, and the outcome or the turnout has been very impressive. And, for now, as far as security is concerned, I think everything is under control. We've not had any serious security breach as far as we are concerned, and the process has been going on very smoothly. Some areas, the voting is almost concluded in some areas, but some areas they are still ongoing. But of course, the state is being.
Okay. So, but can you give us some of those areas that you had reports of some issues?
Well, some of the areas we have reports on some issues has to do with there are some polling units that you hardly have very few voters, and some polling units you have a lot of crowd waiting to vote.
So crowd control.
The crowd control is okay. Most of those areas people were still waiting patiently, except for a few places that it looks as if the whole place is crowded, and then they are still most of the areas are visited.
So before we return to you to talk more on your field security in elections, let's go to Mr. Ezenwa. So what have you observed so far? What has your organization observed so far?
Well, I think that the election is a process. We saw that by 7:30 a.m. about 75% of the officials were already at the polling unit, and by 8:30 about 95% of the polling units had come upstream.
That's a pass mark.
In terms of punctuality index for INEC, that's a I think they deserve some bragging rights now, and they can do some chest thumping in terms of how that has played out. And then, like we had thought that with the creation of more polling units, that we will not be having this polling units with 2,000 voters, which has necessitated the challenge of long queues in some of those places. While side by side those long queues, you find other places where you have less than 20 people voting. But the response of INEC was that they would have to put more than one beaver where there are those challenges. But in many of the places, except perhaps in Ikere where I saw that happen, but in Ado here, in many of the polling centers where I personally observed, you just had one beaver, and that necessitated those long queues. So, but all in all, it's been seamless in terms of the process. The black tar for me today is that we need to still do more about voter inducement. We need to really have a conversation, multi-stakeholder conversation about vote trading. It doesn't appear that it is by any means going down. What has happened is that it has even become a bit more scientific, and the scale has been upped quite a bit. If you come to the polling unit and you are looking out for that, you may be deceived. That's nothing, no sign. But if you now take more than ordinary interests, you would follow the trend of that, and that for me is a diminishing thing for the whole effort that the Independent National Electoral Commission, the National Orientation Agency, civil society groups, the media, the kind of voter education we put around this voter inducement thing. For me, I'm not sure it has yielded the kind of results that were. So it calls for us to engage. But security-wise, there seemed to be some. I had said that we were looking out for a positive outlook for security. But when we met the DIG, who is leading the ICSES, the Intelligence Consultative Committee on Election Security, he did make these promises that they were going to be on top of the situation. Averagely, more than average, that has happened. But we did make a demand that we wanted those security agents who will be working in this election to be badged. And traveling across the states, it does appear that it is only the army that are wearing badges. The most of the other security agents that I saw had no badge. And it is coming from what we saw in 2014, where security officials who had no responsibility in the states were infiltrated and caused a lot of. So we looked out for that. Like I said, the soldiers, the military had their badges, but many of these other agencies had no badge on. So I wouldn't know what has happened, because now that we have gone to the critical point of results management, collation, and the rest of it, this is the point in which it's very important that we can identify who is where and what they are doing at this very critical juncture of the electoral process.
Okay, before you made mention of the financial inducement. It has been rearing its head over the time, over the years, and now it has taken roots this time. But before we dwell a little on that, let me talk about the badge. Since the NSCDC representative is here, do we have the NSCDC officials with badges?
Yes.
Okay.
And we have the badge produced by the Nigerian police, and we have the internal badge produced by the NSCDC. most of our officers in the field, they are wearing those badges. And again in Ekiti, any officer you see here from Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps is part of this election. Nobody from any other part of the country can infiltrate our election process here if you are not scheduled to do an election routine in Ekiti. So as far as NSCDC is concerned, so we have our men, all those who are on ground here are those who are validly screened to be part of this election.
You've been monitoring, getting feedbacks from them to ensure that none of them compromises.
I've been going around, and apart from that, I have 3 other ACGs. We have ACG operations, who is in charge of one of the senatorial zones. Then I have ACG in charge of this particular zone, who is also on ground. And then I have ACG in charge of anti-vandalism. They are all on ground, monitoring the election. So the issue of compromise, I have never had any reports that any citizen or any other from my agency is involved in any malpractices.
That's well said. So let's go back to the main issue now. It's make sure there were reports that some voters rejected inducements somewhere around this axis, and it's turned out that there was a little fracas. Has it always been like this?
So, did they reject the amount given to them, or they rejected?
They rejected outrightly.
Because we need to be able to
outrightly.
Because I've also been in an environment where the issue was the amount, and not
it wasn't good enough.
Yes. So, but you see, paradoxically, what this also points to is that votes count, because those who say votes don't count, why then are people ready to buy your votes? So that's one step. At some point in time, the challenge was, do votes count? That's what we were battling.
It's no longer that song.
So we were battling with, votes don't count. They decide what they've done. The INEC officials the unscrupulous INEC officials can bring ballot result sheets and give to politicians, or suppress votes in certain places. All of that is out now. So the politicians and their candidates are targeting the voters. So what we then need to do is beyond voter education. We now need to see how we work around causative issues. What are the arguments? Forget whether they are rational or not. People can plead poverty. People are poor and all of that. If poverty is a reason for you to commit crime, my boss here will be able to tell us whether because you're poor you can go ahead and commit.
It's not.
I'm just saying so. So people can plead lack hunger, lack of situation, and all of those things. But if they are good enough for you to commit crime and then not be punished, so if you go and steal somebody's phone and they catch you and you say, I'm hungry, I've not eaten since morning, they will say, okay, please take the phone and go away. So until people begin to realize that voter inducement, vote trading is a crime punishable under our law, and that security agents who are in election duty have a responsibility to make scapegoats out of those who get involved in this. In many of the places where this is happening, vehicles are parked within the presence of the voting area, and people vote and go to those vehicles, and security agents are sitting down and watching that drama go on, and you are looking at them and you are like, is it that they don't?
Are they empowered to enforce the law?
So you ask the boss. You ask the boss. Yeah. But the point is that the law, the whole idea of having security agents involved in the electoral process is to maintain law and order. And if people commit crimes in the presence of the electoral, election cycle, it's their responsibility, because vote trading is not maintaining law and order. It subverts the right of the voter to make a free choice. And once that happens, it's the responsibility of the security agents to deal with that. But we can lift it above them and say, hey, maybe we have over-respected the political parties and their candidates. Maybe the investments that we have made in reforming the electoral process, INEC, our engagement with security agencies that are producing some of the beautiful things that they are also doing, maybe we have not put enough investment and attention to the political parties in terms of engagement, and say, look, you devalue the electoral process, you devalue democracy, you subvert electoral integrity when you have to pay voters to vote for you, and then you raise legitimacy questions when you eventually win this election, or when you purchase the victory.
Okay,
as it were.
Okay, so what do you have to say about what about the electorate itself? Because if I don't collect from you, you won't make an attempt to give to me.
You see, that's what we started with. What people, the arguments. The government is not. After now, we will not see them again. All of those issues. Education may not be enough. Because if you see a packet of cigarettes, it's written there, smokers are liable to die young. But you still see people buy rolls of cigarettes. So it's not. So it's not just education. We need to sanction. There has to be a deterrent. If we have 20 people out after this election, go to prison. If the bad guys go to prison on account of vote trading, I'm calling it trading now. Because
it's paid by barter.
Like you said, it has to. If we can get 20 people in jail or pay fine for this, and then we raise that as a banner for Osho, for instance, that hey, some people are in prison now because of this in Ekiti. But because generally everybody's attitude in an election is that it's a bazaar. From the leadership recruitment point of delegates, direct, indirect election, down to this where it's already sunk into our head that it's a transaction. So folks took money in Abuja, why shouldn't I take in Adu? Or in a Kere or in a... That's the kind of argument that you're seeing. But we need to also let them know that if somebody steals ₦1 million and another steals 100,000, under the law is not going to say your own is 1 million, yours is 100. They will build service.
Okay, so let's hear from the NSCDC.
Yeah, the chief mentioned the issue of vote buying by the
and our laws and enforcement
by the polling units and the polling booths. But one other thing is that you, just like you mentioned, they saw a vehicle after voting to go to the vehicle either to collect money or what, and security men are watching. In that instance, in most cases, you draw the attention of security men to it. And look, this is what is happening in this place. Are people seeing it at all? I don't know where he drew the attention to it. Yes, vote buying is under our law is forbidden. And it's a dealable offense, and there is no way a security man will be seeing people directly buying goods and he won't do anything about it. What are we there for? It's not just to keep peace at the polling units alone, to ensure that we also know what is happening within the polling unit and to stop it. The issue of vote buying is one of the things we keep discussing access meeting in Abuja, and when we also came down to Abuja here. So it's a very serious issue, and there is no way any security man will be watching people paying for votes and then keeping quiet. No. If you see something like that, you draw attention to it.
Okay, so are you categorically saying now that if I see something, I should report to any security officer that is there?
Yes.
and action will be taken.
Definitely.
Because people are watching.
Would you let me tell you?
Yes. Like if that
People are watching.
you see that type of situation and you report to us and we didn't take action, then you know.
No, take it up from there.
We all do have different responsibilities in the electoral process. So by my responsibility as an election observer, okay, if I do that, I have breached
You have overstepped your boundary.
my boundary as an election observer. In the same place where I am is where the security agents are. Okay, but let's not. The challenge is, one of the big problems of Nigeria is to always dismiss and say, "Oh, report to me. Tell me what has happened." But I have different responsibility. You have different responsibility in the electoral process. We are calling attention so that we can all begin to work together. I've been in a place, and it's shameful to say, really. I've been in a place in one of the states where we had to with an INEC national commissioner, and this was going on, and the INEC commissioner went to meet the security agent and said, "What is this?" And the guy said, "Are you angry? Why are you angry?" The INEC national commissioner is alive. So it's not about calling your attention. When people have decidedly see this as a bazaar, that's a huge challenge. And that's because nobody has been sanctioned. Because everybody thinks that, when you come to Edo Ekiti, how much are you taking back when you are going? There's already that mentality, that mindset that how they brought me from Akwa Ibom. Somebody told me today that they brought me from Akwa Ibom. God, let us finish this thing. Let me go back. That mindset already is already driving the enablement.
Yeah, I think we'll get there. Like you suggested, it's just work in progress. INEC is already just proving with the process today that everything is possible if all hands are on deck.
Yeah.
All right. I think the NSCBC acting DCG is itching to go. Are you still with us?
If you are done with me.
Okay, we are not done with you. We are not done with you. We want to take our report, which was earlier sent by Kola Adebogui, who reported that 24-year-old nursing mother was among those who patiently waited to cast their ballots at Ward 3 Unit 7 Demo Street in Ado Ekiti, the state capital. And she waited for a long time in a long queue. That's how Nigerians have come to accept the process. Let's see that.
This is Ward 3, Unit 7 in Ado Ekiti, the state capital, where eligible voters have been patiently waiting to exercise their franchise in this governorship election in the Ekiti state. And right here I have with me Mrs. Bosede, a nursing mother, who has also been patiently waiting to cast her ballot. Mrs. Bosede, can you tell us what has been the situation here?
This place is very okay. As a nursing mother, I'm here this morning, and we are voting with appealing. They allow us to vote to who we like. They allow us to do what we like. So there is no any partial, there is no any argument or violence. All these places are very clear, so people can see now that people, this place is very okay. That's what I can see.
Thank you very much. With the situation, voters are expecting that the exercise will be peaceful at the end of the day. Thank you, studio.
All right, it's already peaceful. I just want the NSCDC boss to respond to this, not now as a security agent, but as a stakeholder. People are very aware now that they have a stake in this. So what are your comments on this before we let you go?
The lady, that is very patriotic of her. She stayed behind, not minding whatever she's going through. She wants to vote, and she has voted. And even in our law, see demand that some of the aged women and the pregnant women and those carrying babies are allowed, they are given special treatment to vote and leave the polling unit because of their conditions surrounding it. But then she is not even bothered about carrying a baby. She's ready to wait and then to cast her vote. That is patriotic.
Yes, and she was very confident because there were security personnel.
And that is where we say somebody's vote counts. She insisted that her vote must count. That is why she has to stay and vote.
Okay, so what are your expectations? This is another election just before us. Generally, the general election is almost here. What are we expecting from the security architecture?
There's no doubt about it. We will continue to improve on what we have. Look at what we have in Ekiti now. It's a great improvement on what we have in Anambra. So we will continue to improve, and I want to assure Nigerians that we will do our best to ensure that we have a hitch-free election, any other election. For sure it's coming. I believe we are going to improve more based on what we have learned, what we've done so far. Is a lesson for us for what is coming in Osun. That will also prepare us to do better in the general election coming 2023.
Thank you very much. This acting DCG operations NSLC headquarters Abuja, Haruna Lawa Mohammed. Thank you so much for joining us in the studio. Okay, we'll now let you go, but just hold on. Let's take this report. Ekiti State as a sovereign and political entity was created in October 1996 under the then military administration. In this next report, Ayodeji Ogunshaki takes us through the statistics of the 26-year-old state. Okay, we'll get that in the course of the discussion. I think we'll now take let's come to Mr. Ezenwa, who will now dwell on patriotism and nationalism in the country, owing to the fact that that lady came out with her baby to come and exercise the franchise. What are your reactions to this?
Well, at first, I don't think that having a baby is a condition. I think it's something exciting. It does not diminish our citizenship by any way. Like he said, the protocol, election protocols already have made it clear that nursing mothers, the aged, indeed women, should have the right of first voting, if you like the use of that word. So, and in many places, I saw the aged, I saw nursing mothers,
and even the physically
challenged, and so we work towards an inclusive electoral process, and inclusive electoral process therefore means that all of these kind of people will have no reason not to vote. So kudos to stakeholders, election stakeholders, who are also working very hard. I have a young lady who told me that she has not gone to vote because she was always told that if she goes to vote, they will kill her, and all of those kinds of things. So, but when
that
you
was
see,
the narrative.
yeah, so when you see the age, you see nursing mothers coming to exercise their franchise, it's heartwarming, it's encouraging, it builds citizen confidence in democracy and the electoral process.
All right, we have also in the studio now, she just walked in, Faith Wadishi, INEC observer, and of the Center for Transparency Advocacy. She was here with us yesterday, and she's here again after being observing in the field. So let's just go straight to you now. How has it been?
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, Nigerians. It's been peaceful. It's been I've been very happy and excited to be part of this process. Build up to the election, there were some narratives that a lot of people didn't expect would happen today. We're seeing that elections have been very peaceful, polls opened early, most of the places, over 75% to 80% of the places where we sent observers, polls opened at 8:30. That's to say that INEC got it right this time with its logistics. And then we have people also coming out, people behaving themselves, being civil and voting. I guess also because of the functioning of the beavers, it's been functioning very well. It has helped to calm down the tension before now. And then also, I think I should mention the issue of the security agents. They've been very professional and been very collaborative in the way they have worked, that we have seen them work on the field. But you cannot say that again on the other side of what one of the fears we had around vote buying. Vote buying has taken another dimension. In fact, in one of the polling units, they were giving them 5,000 and a packet of spaghetti. It's that bad, and so you were either asked to take a packet of spaghetti or take that small packet of semovita.
It's so cheap.
So, yeah, I'm telling you, so pathetic. And all people are coming out, but all people also are selling their votes. Even the old people are coming out. And I saw that report about the young woman with her baby. A lot of them have come out, and the way they have treated them is fine. But I need to also point out that we truly need to continuously educate people. There was a particular polling unit we went to. One woman came with affidavit. She lost her voter's card at PVC.
Oh.
So she came with her affidavit to vote.
She actually wanted to.
Yes, she actually wanted to vote, but I think the saving grace we had was because we had an FPO on the field who said, "Madam, what is this?" He said, "It's my voter's card." You know, maybe those kind of things. And then also you have the youth corps, you know, the members themselves also performing very well. In fact, there's an official of the youth service corps that we met on the field. She was trying to identify those youth corps members. And one particular case, the person didn't have an ID card. He's a former corps member, but he was still putting on the corps members uniform. The woman said, "Fine, you were a former corps, but you are no longer a corps member, so you cannot wear this uniform for this duty." And the young man was made to put off that. I thought that's very good. Those kind of things that we see, it means that, yes, it means that the different agencies that work along the different value chains and the stakeholders in the electoral process are not taking their responsibilities very seriously.
Okay, what about the women, the turnout of women?
You know, before the election, we said that about 74% of the women who registered actually came out with their voters card. But they were there, you know, they came out. This is funny, but it wasn't so funny for me because we said women with babies should come out. They were now in one particular polling, I think it was the CSC secondary school here. They were borrowing babies to snap pictures, so to go and vote. So one particular woman had a baby with her, and as she was voting, the baby started crying. The woman couldn't pacify the baby.
This is not
looking for the mother of the baby. You know, those kind of things do happen. People like to find a way out of some things that you have done to make things easier. So people like to find a way out. But generally, I must say, Ekiti election being the first election to be conducted under the new Electoral Act, there's a lot of gains we have made in our electoral reforms. Okay.
So talking about that lady who borrowed, is it also pointing to the fact that people are hungry or they just greed?
I think that polling unit had about over 1,500 registered voters, and the crowd, people just wanted to take the easy way out so that they can vote and then go away from there. But women turned out. I am not surprised that women turned out because more women actually collected their voters card. And the person I said came out with the affidavit to vote is a woman. So a lot of them were very enthusiastic about voting. Most of the old people we saw were old women. There's a particular woman we interviewed. She said she's 70. Her neighbors had to bring her out from her home to come out to vote. And she was just saying that I asked her what is that thing that makes you come out here? You know, she said no. She wants to be part of the history to make sure that things are done well. I said, okay, can you talk to the young ones who are still at home? So they should come out because the future is in their hands. She wants to vote for somebody who will take into consideration the livelihood of old persons. But when they die, those young people are the ones that will continue with them. So they need to come out and help them to make that decision, to put somebody in the office who will attend to those their needs and expectations.
So let me come to Mr. Ezenwa, because this should be talking about the men. The men are always taking the back seats when it comes to election. Are you satisfied, sir, with the turnout of men today?
Well, I've not disaggregated the figures, but I do know that some of the men, young people that I saw are active. They are young men. They also want to vote, and but we can't make that call until after the elections. Then we can disaggregate the figures and then see this is the percentage of young people, percentage of women, and all of those things. Because sometimes those lines that you see are very deceptive. When you then balance it with the number of registered voters in that place, and so that's why when the figures come out, people will be like, so what happened? Because here they've never gone above 45% voting strength in Abuja. So there's something you said about logistics, and which my sister reinforced. But there is something that happened in Ekiti that we need to take away. The traditional moral authority that was brought on the NURTW folks, the Ewi of Ado Ekiti, had to invite them. That's the National Union of Road Transport Workers. Had to invite them and impressed that moral authority on them that they must not frustrate INEX logistics, and it has worked. So maybe it's something we can begin to take on. So somebody outside of their own, because really the logistics issues perennial that has bedeviled our process, plagued our process, has more to do with factors that are outside of INEC. Sometimes it is the security agents who will not come out on time, will decide to do much past. But we put that pressure on the security agents that there should not be any match pass. They should just go ahead and that has played out well. Then this moral authority that I've talked about, where the traditional ruler of Ado here had to invite their leaders and compel them. So you have seen that, like Faith said, the different stakeholders taking this issue seriously can produce an outcome that can be satisfying to everybody. So, but there's a lot of work, like I said. If the traditional moral institutions also come around the issue of vote trading, we may begin to also get. So we must explore different ways. But like I said, overall, when you see vote trading, it's not essentially about hunger. It's not essentially about poverty. It's just that idea that we're in a bazaar, So let me take my own.
I must
grab my own. But if there are institutions that can begin to tell, not just the politicians now, maybe churches, mosque, begin to drum it that look, what we do, they value our citizenship, subvert electoral integrity, and at the end of the day deny us of the governance outcomes that we expect from this whole thing. People marry them, nursing mothers, old women standing in the sun, the threats of rain early in the morning, they stood through it. It has to count for something. It must have to count for something. People have to understand that, that at the end of the day is about what kind of government are we looking at. The indices for Ekiti is not looking so good in terms of what the Bureau of Statistics is bringing out. There are, unemployment, high cost of living, all of those challenges needs government to begin to press them head on. And that's what this election is about. So when you now turn it to buying and selling, you muzzle your ability to ask questions, because that's what the citizens don't have any other thing. The rallies that's held in the pavilion, everybody comes to that place. In fact, you are begged, you are mobilized to come to the pavilion. So it's all after this election. you get into the government house, for you to get into that government house, you will know what it would. So if you strayed now, your civic groups and organizations no longer can ask questions. Because if you say, oh, there are no good rules, the man or woman who wins this election will laugh and say, what are you talking about? We settled each other. We settled each other. You know.
So that's a very good point, everybody. And Nigerians are very religious. They listen to their religious leaders and their traditional rulers. So if, like you rightly said, if this is consolidated upon, it will be an excellent one. Okay, you talked about the voting pattern, 45% in the last election, and now can we have a divide? Can we see how it has been, the voting pattern of the people in the states previously and now? I think you were here during the...
Yes, I was here in 2018, but the stakes for 2018 are a bit different. If you look at it, you had an incumbent who was frontal.
Was a candidate?
No. In 2018, he was leaving, but he was interested in frontally doing that. But right now, it's not. It doesn't appear that way. You see that the different political parties and the introduction of the third force and the rest of it have brought some kind of balance in terms of how the power equation is looking. So what we don't know is whether this, because it used to be a two-party, two-horse race and all of that, but now it's likely to be three-horse or even more than that. But at the end of the day, whether that will increase voter turnout is something we are going to examine after this process at the end of this election. But so 2018, 2014, the issues that people were dealing with are quite different. Now, like I told you, the whole issue around insecurity, the whole issue around high cost of living, all of those things are drivers for perhaps why people would want a retention or excusing those who are holding forth.
Okay, let's hear from you. You were here the last time.
Yes,
She's a veteran.
So, how would you rate the two?
Yes, I want to align myself with this analysis about what has happened. I was asking somebody, I said before now, in 2018, and even in 2014 also, the tension was something else. And then it was really, really tense before the election, and then on election day. But apart from the fact that people were a little bit tense before the election, we're still an election that is peaceful, that is, and then I asked a few people around, I said, what do you think is attributed to this peace? They said because the candidates are peaceful people. That was what I was told, but I think mostly because of the fact that you're beginning to have a balance of power. It's no longer about a particular group of persons or a particular individual. So people are now coming out and also ensuring that they are taking care of their own fronts and areas. So it's important also to note that because of the fact that citizens are also part of this process, you find that tension. What is it that before in 2018 they had issues with the card reader, and once you have a machine or a tool that is supposed to be used for election is not functioning very well, it increases the tension on election. So you go to election, polls are supposed to open by 8:30. By 8 o'clock, the INEC official is already telling people we are going to open at 8:30. It opens. The first person that corrected, second person that corrected, first 30 minutes.
Seamless.
I'm telling you, the whole situation becomes peaceful.
Okay, so talking about the process now, unbiased, scientifically rigorous analysis of electoral trends is expected to take root in this election. And this will now lead to subsequent ones. Are you foreseeing any kind of, or rather, let me put any way this can be improved upon? The transmission of results electronically.
Electronically, the transmission of results electronically has started since 2020, and it has been an incremental improvement along the line. But what we need to do now that the BVAS is working very well, the BVAS is the machine that will be used to transmit the results. If citizens need to register on the INEC result viewing portal to be able to access that. The other day at the stakeholders meeting, I was shocked that senior political gladiators didn't even know, were not even aware of the INEC result viewing portal, and that they had to register to be able to access that. So with what we have going forward, I think the technology needs to be sustained. The technology needs to be built in such a way that when you have issues with network, there seems to be a lot of problems with network around the kitchen. Just trying to make a call, you have to move around and all of that. When you have that kind of problem, definitely you have the challenge with the machines. But we have not seen that significantly in this election. So what we really need to do is to improve on that technology, sustain that technology, and continuously make people believe and trust in the entire process, the transparent process, of course, get people to trust the results that come out. And I'm sure that will also impact on the issue of voter apathy. Because when people trust the process, the first election, the second election, you see more people wanting to come out.
From Yaga's position on this, taking a look at the way it was and now,
I'm not very excited. I have to be honest with you, and I'm not speaking for Yaga now. I'm not very excited because this graph has always gone this way. So we come to Ekiti and it's done so well, and then we go everywhere and say, oh, we have got it right, and then we go to Osun, and it's a different story. So what are those things that needs to happen? It's increased citizen oversight. We need to continue like they have done well. Now we clap for them, but we tell them that we are not, because Ekiti 16 local governments, 900 and less than a million voters. We expect some reasonable, outcome here. If it's larger, where you have 30 local governments on the 16th of July, we expect that you don't drop the ball. So it's key that we don't begin to make this call about that we have gotten it right. We were in Anambra, we saw the challenges in Anambra. The FCT, that is 6 local governments, had its big challenges. We all put the pressure on INEC and say, hey, you can't sweep it under the carpet, you've got to do something. And we've seen remarkable, and INEC incidentally is one Nigerian public institution that is always responding to issues very, very quickly. Unlike other institutions where once you say, look, this has not gone well, you see the next time INEC is awake to that responsibility. So I found out that we need to keep the pressure on. We need to put that pressure. What does the beaver do? The beaver has solves 3 problems. Voter identity theft. Okay, where people carry more than 1, 2, 3 PVCs and brag about it. You can't do that. We have not seen that in our observation. The people who have voted are those who are authentic holders of the PVC. So we have solved one problem. We also have the result management aspect of it, which is the what do you call it, the manual, the bimodal now, manual and electronic. And the 2022 electoral law has also made it incumbent on INEC to transmit these results electronically. So we didn't come here to observe so that we will say everything has gone well. We will also watch to see whether that other aspect which is the weakest link. That's what we used to call it, of collation. If INEC has also made an improvement in FCT, it was not real time. In many places, the result didn't come as it was posted. We want to see it happen real time here, and there are other platforms now that are interested, that are working to make sure that real time, as the results are uploaded, INEC results are uploaded, Nigerians can see it through all the different platforms. So our engagement with the electoral process must be one in which it is friendly but principled. Meaning that when there are issues to call out, we call out. When there is a place to clap, we clap without hesitation.
So are you foreseeing that, because some persons are bragging that the process can be compromised, whether it's electronically transmitted or not? You know that some persons will still have a way to find a way to rig.
Nigeria is a country where even if first we don't like to accept progress, we have a problem with progress. That some progress has been made. As we still speak now, there are people who will tell you that the election has been rigged.
Yes.
You can't help them. There are people who will tell you that votes don't count. You can't help them, because they are not even interested in following. I can tell you that there are 16 political parties contesting this election. If you bring the candidates and say, have you read INEC guideline? You'll be shocked, you'll be amazed. So the person who has not read INEC guideline, who does not even know what the Electoral Act is saying about a process, will be ranting all over the place and say, hey, they have rigged the election, it cannot work. We have told you now that it is work in progress. There was a time we had issues where 2007 you will be going to vote, and the result of where you are voting will be announced.
I was on the field that
So you
even as a reporter, I experienced it.
So that's where we were in 2007. Then we brought the smart card reader. The smart card reader did not help us to solve the challenge of voter identity theft. We moved it up again to beavers. Now beavers is that even if you don't print, you still have to get your officials. When you get your officials, you still have to smile. You understand what I'm saying? So that it's sure, because we know that people take pictures from calendar and all of those things. So there's incremental progress. INEC works very hard to make sure that as the challenges are brought open and popularized, that they do something about it. But like I said, do we pay the same attention or equal attention to the other stakeholders who are territorializing? You raise issues around security, everybody will say, how can you be asking me to show you somebody who is buying vote? That as an observer, if I see people buying vote, I should call you. When you are sitting there, there's something
probably they were not the same.
So what are they there to do? To see
curtail violence?
No, it's not just that. He admitted that they are not just there to curtail, it's to enforce law and order. You understand? So until all of us begin to think that this is work in progress, citizens as well need to debrief themselves of this. It can't work. We are making a lot of progress in Nigeria. Today you can send money to your mother in the village. Before now, you have to look for your town people in the city where you are living that is traveling and give the person money, and sometimes they take the letter, chop the money, take the money. We are shifting, and as those shifts happen, we should celebrate them and make more demands. It's the same thing for the electoral process. We are not where we were before. We have not gotten to where we want to be, but we all are working to ensure that we get there together, and that for me is the passion. That's the driver for which we come here. We are not coming here we come here to learn, and when we learn, we go back to the duty bearers and say, hey, we were in Ekiti, we saw this. Many times you are dismissed. Many times they dismiss you and say you are just raising issues. But the truth is that they know that what you're saying is true, and they begin to work around it. And that for me is the value of engagement. And more people must come in and engage. And as we engage, what is the purpose of the engagement? To get outcomes that improve the system, make it better, and at the end of the day, we have a government that can truly beat their chest and say they were elected. Because if we continue the way we are going, both the citizens themselves cannot have confidence in the man who is leading them, because at the end of the day they know he bought. So that raises legitimacy issues for the winner, and then kills accountability and transparency for the citizens.
Okay, talking about accountability, where are we headed? Going back to vote buying now, where people think anything goes, and they can just go to bed having committed one form of crime or another. Do you think, Madam Faith, do you think our laws, our judicial system need rejigging in this regard?
Oh, thank you so much. So much the letters of our laws, we don't have a problem. The problem really is the implementation of the letters of the laws. When you have laws and you are cherry picking who has gone contrary to this law, and at what time, what's your position, can you be exonerated and all of that, we still have a lot of problems. We don't have scarcity of laws or good laws in the country when it comes to even dealing. But the impunity of non-implementation of those laws are the problems that we are having. People are selling their votes because politicians. I came here 2 weeks ago. I was here and I was wondering why there were no campaigns. I went out to ask people and they told me that the politicians said, we don't want to campaign so that we can keep the money to buy votes on election day.
Really?
Yes.
Such audacity.
That was it. And you know, they don't talk about it, and because there's no consequence for breaking of laws. Now, before the election, we were told that the EFCC ICPC was going to collaborate with INEC to be able to get that. And the impunity is such that vote buying is no longer done hidden. No, they don't bring it to the polling unit, but they set up a place. There's one polling unit very close to the market where they turn that market to a vote market. The ordinary people did not come there to buy and sell, but they turn that place where you can now buy, vote, and sell. Now, take for instance, you have 16 political parties who are contesting the election to bring up the governor of the state. But when you go to the polling unit, you see about 3 or 4, 5 party agents. One of the very young adult staff of INEC said, "Oh, the way the party agents are behaving, they're behaving as if they are brothers and sisters." And I said, "Don't be surprised that they've been working for one party." You know, so when you get that level of impunity and there's no consequence, you see that our vote, but not until we're able to take people and make them scapegoats and really show, not just the ordinary person, but politically exposed people, make them scapegoats, then people will begin to sit up. Party agents will sit up. Citizens themselves, even when you give them that money, they will not want to take it. Because for them, some of them say the reason why they take it is because in the next 4 years, you know, as they said it right now, you come to the pavilion. If they may even come to your homes, if at the time of campaigning you ask a candidate to come to your home, the candidate will come to your home to Dobale. But as soon as that candidate gets into office, you can't even pass the front of government house without being checked. So we begin to think about it. People feel that this is the time for me to take my own. And what you take, how does it last for you for the next 4 years? Imagine somebody who was taking, I think it was in 2018, they started that slogan about vote and make a pot of soup. You know, and then you take 4,000 naira to make a pot of soup. And the question I kept asking is, after making that pot of soup on election day, do you retain the taste? Your taste buds for the next 4 years? What is the implication? Imagine the young woman who came out with the baby on her back, and on the one day the baby is sick, and you go to the health center closest to you, and there's no doctor, no nurse, no drugs to take care of that baby, and the baby dies. And you remember that on election day you collected 2,000 naira, and you have just given up the life of your child for 2,000 naira, and that they don't remember. But the fact is is that the 2,000 naira, the 3,000 naira, no matter how much they collect, is the reason why that baby died, is the reason why there's no doctor in that hospital, is the reason why you don't have drugs in that hospital. And I was watching the news the other day in Senegal. There was a fire in a hospital. A fire in a hospital that people died. The Minister of Health was asked to resign. In fact, he resigned.